Okay, let's take a look at the last week's assignment that was due this morning at 8 a.m. Hopefully everybody got it all submitted. Kind of run through it. Sometimes I figure these out ahead of time just to because I'm just to be ready, but today I kind of wanted to take my time and go through it with you guys. Make sure you see the things that I look at and kind of hopefully why they're important. So anyhow, what caused Chester to need an emergency loan? Well, an emergency loan is because you don't have cash, right? So let's go take a look at the cash flow, which is right there. Okay, cash flow summary goes from here down to here. And I'm talking about Chester, right? I think that's what the question was. So it's really pretty simple. I can just kind of go right down Chester and find the things that have parentheses around them, and those are negatives, and that's what the things that would have caused Chester to need an emergency loan. Those things that were negative. So lost money, right? Had extraordinary gains or losses, so it had a small extraordinary loss. The biggest one was its buildup of inventory, is what we call there. So an increase in inventory means a decrease in cash. Okay, net we don't worry about. That's what just the total of those up there. Plant improvements was even bigger than inventory, so they did spend a lot of money on plant improvements. Huge, right? And retirement of current debt. Okay, those are the things that you should have listed. 4 or 5 things there, pretty simple to find. Wasn't meant to be a rocket science question, but okay, get you to look at the cash flow and understand, you know, what things and what items are on there. Okay, so there's question 1 out of the way. Question 2, a little bit more difficult. Andrews paid a substantial dividend. Yes, they did. What was the effect on, and show the math if necessary. So what was its effect on ROE? Well, why don't you guys tell me first what would be the effect on ROE? Would it stay the same? Its ROE would go up as a result of paying the dividend. And why is that? You're right, but why? Makes the equity go down, right? So your equation is the equation for ROE is net income divided by equity, right? Okay. Get used to that one, okay? You're going to hear me ask you what ROE is 100 times this semester, so please get used to it and be ready for it. So ROE, net income divided by equity. So if the equity goes down, the ROE goes up, okay? Dividends are paid out of equity, okay? That's a key to part B of this question. Dividends are paid out of equity. They're not paid out of income, okay? They're paid out of equity. They have to be paid after the tax burden. Okay, so it's an after-tax burden. We know that this is a C corporation then, okay, if they're paying taxes, okay, it has to be a C corporation. So ROE then, so we got to go look at what the math would be. Let's go take a look. So we come down here. First, let's see what its dividend was. 15,804,000. 15,804,000. We'll leave the zeros off. That should be okay, I think. Get us close here anyhow. And then come down to its equity. Its equity, we find that on the balance sheet, right? Okay, total equity, 72,245. I'm going to put that up here. 72,245. Okay. So sorry, I got to make them look pretty too. So what we're trying to figure out though is what their ROE would have been if they hadn't have paid that dividend. Their ROE actually would have been lower had they not paid that dividend, right? Okay, and so what we're going to do is add back the dividend as if it hadn't been paid in order to calculate this. That's kind of what I was looking for. So I got to add back in that dividend, so I just say this is equal to this plus this. Okay, so their equity, had they not paid the dividend, would have been a little over 88 million. Everybody following me so far? Okay, had they not paid that dividend, their equity would have been a little over 88 million. And their income was 15,787,000, right? 15,787. So to figure out their ROE, simply equal to the 15,787 divided by what that equity would have been, and I come up with a 17.9. Okay, that should be lower than what they actually showed, right? And we'll go back and check that, make sure I did this right. So they should have had an equity or a return on equity higher than that, and their ROE was 21.9. Okay, so 4 percentage points difference by paying that dividend. So actually a pretty big difference is what they ended up gaining. Okay, everybody follow that? Okay, don't be surprised if I ask ROE and EPS questions and those types of things again. In fact, be surprised if I don't. So question B, or part B of question 2, is what was the effect on earnings per share? Anybody got an idea? Nobody took a stab at that one.
No effect.
No effect. Good job. Yeah. Doesn't affect earnings per share. Again, it's paid after, dividends are paid after we calculate our income. Okay, they come out of equity, so there's no effect. Could that affect future earnings per share? I don't know. You could maybe make a case, but it'd be difficult, and it would be nominal, any effect that it might have in the future. So, question 3. For round 4, what will be the total industry capacity in the high end? Well, let's go take a look. I'm going to find that in my production analysis. Should be right here. Boy, that's small print. High end, I got to be a little bit careful because a couple teams have introduced some new products that might be in the high end. I think Team Ferris for 1 and Team Digby for 2. Okay. Team Erie, on the other hand, doesn't have a high end other than they got 1 unit of capacity. So we got to go through and say, okay, well, we got 400 plus 800, so we're at 1,200 plus 900 is 2,100 plus 450, so 2,550 plus 500 is 3,050 plus 3,050, 900, so 3,950, 4,450, 4,451, right? Okay, is that my answer, 4,451? Of course not, because I can multiply by 2, right? Because we can always use 2 shifts. Okay, we can always use 2 shifts. So I multiply that by 2. 4,451 times 2 would be 8,902. Does that sound right? Yes, ma'am.
Is this information on the winter spring 2017?
Is this information on the what?
The winter spring
The
2017.
winter spreadsheet. The this is just right on your round 3 courier, Capstone Courier. So yep. Okay. So capacity, we always have that ability to produce for 2 shifts. So our capacity is always double what it says, right? So we could make 89, right? And the demand in the high end next round is going to be what, about 4,000 or 4 million units. So we got about twice the capacity in the high end as we need to cover the demand for next round. Just off the top of my head. Questions on that one? Did a lot of people forget to do the double? Okay, you won't forget that again. 4, how many dollars in lost sales did Digby miss out on in the size segment? Oops, didn't want to do that. So, size segment. Digby. Well, we can get an estimate here. An estimate won't work, but we'll just take a look first. Size segment, Digby, looks like they could have had about 36 and they only did about 20, so it looks like they missed out on about 16% of the segment. I asked, the unit one on the one before this, I got all kinds of funky math on that question. I don't know why. There was, and several people had this same weird number, 1,218 or something, for whatever reason when I was correcting those. I have no idea where you guys got that number. Maybe you'll show me, one of you will. Okay, anyhow, to get the actual or the precise numbers, we would come down here and we would say this in our size segment. Fortunately, Digby only had one product in the size segment, which is their Dune, it looks like, if I'm reading that correctly. That's awful small print. So their potential was 36.1%. Their actual was 19.6%. So 0.361, 0.196. Okay. So what they missed out on is the difference between those, right? Just the difference between the potential and the actual. So this is simply equal to 36 minus my 19.6. So I was estimating, I was about 0.5% off, so I said 16%, just kind of looking at the estimate. It was 16.5%. Okay, that's the amount of the demand that they missed out on. So what was the total unit demand for that segment? It tells us up here, or we can go back up here, either one. But the total units demanded for that segment was 3,284. Be the same number as up here, 3,284. I hate that thing. 3,284. So the number of units that they missed out on was simply equal to the percent times the demand. So 541 to 542. Oh my God. You'll be fine. Okay, but then this one I asked you to take it one step further and tell me what kind of sales you missed out on. That math should be pretty simple. Okay, what was Digby's or Dune's price? $33.50. $33.50, right? 33.5. I don't want that to be a percent. So it should just be a number. Oh, it put it in wrong. How come I didn't want that decimal? 33.5. There we go. So equal to this times this. So they missed out on, wow, 18,152,000 in sales. Okay, so a little over 18 million in sales. Probably what if you rounded, you're probably around there. Okay. Anybody got any questions on how I did that math? Next question probably for next round is going to be, now, what's the after tax? Right? What's the after tax? Or what was before the after tax? I think I would do what did it miss out on in earnings before taxes. So then you got to calculate the marginal. Let me walk you through that just real quick. Then you'll have to calculate what the marginal cost, marginal variable cost is to get what the contribution margin is on that particular product. We might be able to use the contribution margin that they give us, but we can't rely on that, because the contribution margin that they give us might encompass products from 2 periods, right? If they made some last round that didn't sell, the contribution margin on that might be different than the contribution margin that we're having for this period. So we need to look at the marginal contribution, okay? The marginal contribution margin. That's the contribution margin of the last product made. So if we go up here, just to take a look, for example, for Dune, okay, so Dune's price $33.50, material cost $11.95, labor cost $8.48. I'd add those together. What's that give me? $20.43. Is that right for my cost? Anybody got the math on that? did I say 11.95 and 848. 11.95. Ah. Fat fingers. 8.48. So it's equal to this plus this. Yeah, so 2043 is my variable cost, okay, on the margin. 3350 was my sales price. So I take my sales price, subtract it from my variable cost, my contribution, gross profit actually, my gross profit then per item is $13.07. So to calculate what my gross profit would have been had I sold that additional 16.5%, right? Had I sold up to my potential, I just take the 1307 then times the unit sales that I missed out on. You guys follow? How come I'm getting that deer? Is it just too early? You guys are all looking at me like it's deer in the headlights or something. Like you're all still asleep. You didn't have enough coffee this morning or your espressos or something. You guys got to get up earlier. That's the problem.
Say cost minus sale price.
What's that?
Can you repeat what you said on the gross profit?
So I calculate what my variable costs are. So my labor cost, and material cost per item. Okay, that total gives me my variable cost per item. Sales price per item, $33.50, minus that variable cost per item, gives me my gross profit per item. Okay. When I have that, then I go back to my calculation, right? So if I wanted to know for this last round what they missed out on in terms of gross profit, then all I have to do is take that 13.07, my gross profit per item, times the number of units that they didn't sell and could have. So they'd had about a 7 million, almost 7.1 million, almost, okay, that they missed out in gross profit. Andrews did. Okay. I'm going to do one more thing here, and then I'll turn you guys loose. But I want to see, okay, my contribution margin is going to be this 1307 divided by my 3350. That's going to be my marginal one. I'm just going to see if that's the same as what they have listed. 39%, is that what Dune is? Yeah, Dune's 39%. So Dune must have sold out all their inventory from the round before. I can just make that assumption now, okay, when I do the calculation, but I didn't know that before, so you always want to kind of calculate that marginal number. Make sense? Okay, turn you loose, get your decisions made.